Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to listen to our review of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, this episode, he'll be doing all his own stunts. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
Hey, watch me as I jump off this bike.
And he could beat Tom Cruise in a foot race, but he just ate, so he can't right now. Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I got a mission if you choose to accept it, Adam.
What's that?
Let me freestyle for you.
Oh, please, God, no.
No.
Save us
No,
all
thank
from
you.
the reckoning that
you.
is Bruce Leslie and musical talent.
Some Jim Belushi circa 1982 is what that sounds like.
Oh,
to me.
my word.
No, that's bad.
Not just the better Belushi, of course.
How dare you? How dare you?
I'm a horrible person.
Man, I lived my life according to Jim for 4 years.
And the sitcom went off the air, and my life just became aimless.
It was so empty, and I had to go to medical school.
I had a friend tell me this one. I had a friend tell me
That's
one
what got
time
him.
about according to Jim. He's like, I watch that show every week. It's one of my favorites. And I was like, really? You watch that show like every week? And he goes, yeah. I'm not a comedy snob like you.
I could laugh at garbage CBS programming. What of it?
Oh, man, a guy who was one of John Waters' producers called me a comedy whore because I told him I liked Tommy Boy.
Hey, listen, that was one of the most amazing times in my life when I found out that my mother loved Tommy Boy.
That's pretty great.
I was just like, I was flabbergasted. She just goes, "Oh, I love that movie." I'm like, "You hate this kind of stuff. How in the world?" She goes, "I thought it was sweet." I'm like, "Oh my word. I just blew my mind." Anyways, today we're talking about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, for those of you that may not support us over at patreon.com/HMP, we're going to hit you with that one early because here's why. If you go over to patreon.com/HMP, you get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And the best part about it is like back when we were doing in the COVID times, as it were, we were going through a whole bunch of different movies. We went through all of the Matrix movies. We went through all of the Fast and Furious movies to varying degrees of success. But one thing that we did do that we found pretty good success in almost all the way across the board was we reviewed all of the Mission Impossible movies. So if you want like really good in-depth Mission Impossible reviews for the previous 6 movies, go over to patreon.com/HMP and join them today at any level and go and check all those out. Those were a really fun time going back and looking at all those movies.
Mission Impossible, stick around for the Fast and Furious.
Yeah, if you want to, like, you can hear that one. That's also fun to hear because of just the downward spiral that series took.
I was so game for it. Like, I was really surprised with how much I liked the third one, the Tokyo Drift movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, the first 3 surprised all of us. We even liked that second one we were seeing its praise.
Yeah. The second one was great too. And then we hit 4 and it was like, well, that's a bad one. And 5 was like, hey, that
5 was like, no, 4 and 5 were great. And then after 5
was the peak.
Yeah. After 5, it was just like, oh no.
I mean, for me, like after 5, everything just went to hell for me real fast.
I think most people kind of see it. Well, I won't say most people. The people I talk to kind of are on the same page as you. Like after 5, it's diminishing returns.
Yeah.
But diminishing returns, we did not feel that about Mission Impossible. It's one of those that after a while you're like, well, I'll take another one of those, please. If you keep making them at least halfway good, I'll keep going to them.
Before we get too far on topic, the last last tangent I'll throw out there is I did get a trailer for the new Expendables movie. So is Expendables going to be the next franchise that you're shocked it went on and then it gets really good in like the 4th or 5th one?
We may be talking about that later.
Aha.
Who's to say? All right. Well, let's get into it. Here's the IMDb plotline for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I'll be saying that name in full all the time because I feel that's one of those things that you have to do. As we all know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Check this one out. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls into the wrong hands.
Nice.
Yeah, that's every Mission Impossible movie, IMDb. I hate to tell you.
Cut and paste, Control C, Control V.
No.
IMDb.
They're like, we just got to do that 7 times and we're done.
Tom Cruise runs a little bit.
Yeah,
There's
Tom
also
Cruise.
a MacGuffin.
It just happens. This is written by Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote Valkyrie, Edge of Tomorrow, Usual Suspects, and Eric Jenderson, who wrote Band of Brothers. And also, I find out, because I listened to a McHugh interview, and him and Eric Jensen, they kind of go back and forth, just kind of over the years, they've kind of been friendly supervising each other's scripts and stuff, so to speak. They've been kind of going back and forth, and each one kind of looks at the other one, gives a little critique back and
forth. Keeping them honest. That's awesome.
So he was just like, hey, man, you've given me some good ideas. And like Eric wrote a whole bunch of the sub stuff and everything. All that's his. But then so much, and we'll get into it, but so much of this movie is just like a lot of McHugh movies are written on the fly. And of course, it's directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who did the last two Mission Impossible movies. And of course, Way of the Gun and Jack Reacher as well. So let's quickly, because we won't give the full reviews here and everything, but let's talk about the first, quickly, the first couple of Mission Impossible movies and just your overall thoughts of the series as a whole. Who wants
Well, I'll
first?
say that I'm the lone person who enjoyed 2, because I do know 2 is probably the low point for this franchise.
It almost killed the franchise.
But I'm a sucker for John Woo, and that one actually worked for me in I'm going to say not quite, but almost an MST3K style. It just worked for me because in my mind, I could go back to the 90s when I would have loved this, even though this was even a little late for that.
I still like 2 just because of that like silly John Woo-ness of it. It is the least of all of them, to be sure.
And I think 1 was a pleasant surprise because I believe most of us who saw it kind of knew the theme song and knew it was like this weird 60s TV show that was on TBS every now and then. But I don't know that we knew what to expect from a movie. And we were like, oh, okay, this is like an American James Bond. We can get into this.
The first one's more like espionage. I mean, Tom Cruise doesn't even shoot a gun.
Yeah.
It's more of a caper than it is a big time action movie, which is great.
They do have some really convincing blue screen of a helicopter in a tunnel, though. So it is an action movie.
That is really good blue screen. I agree with you.
At the time, it looked pretty good, people. At the time, it looked pretty good.
Not really. I remember being in the movie
not as
theater.
Good as Die Hard. It was on par with Die Hard.
I'm not saying that it didn't go over the top at certain points.
I can remember being in the movie theater and going, this doesn't look very good.
Oh,
I was like, man, first Hans Gruber's tibias, now this.
It's so like there's something that's very cool about the fact that Ving Rhames has been in every one of these. I really, really love that fact.
yeah.
And isn't he like turning into the most lovable teddy bear, man? Like his smile seems like a perma grin on his face now. Like I really want to give him a hug every time he's on screen.
Well, think of how great he has it. He's the voice of Arby's and he does Mission Impossible movies. What more do you need?
I mean,
I bet that Arby's money's huge.
I don't know what his relationship status is, but if he's single, a line that never would fail is, "I got the meat."
And you know how he got the name Ving Rhames?
Irving was the full name, and he had a celebrity friend who told him to shorten it to Ving, but I can't remember who that friend was.
Roommate, and it was the Tooch.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Stanley Tucci gave him that nickname.
I would love to see the
like-
two of them in an odd couple reunion type thing.
He said they kept going
Ooh.
for all the same roles, and
Did you watch
Tucci was
that?
getting him, and he wasn't.
Yeah, I
changed his
understand
name.
that. Listen, we need a little Italian man.
Ving?
Why do you keep showing
Irving? Let's call it this Irving fellow. He sounds small and white.
up?
I'm a good actor.
So this is my recollection of Mission Impossible, is that the first movie I was all on board for it, man. I loved it so much. The quiet scene in the white room, like I was in the movie theater at a packed house watching that movie,
Pin
and there
drop.
were people in the movie theater afraid to make noise unless Tom Cruise gets busted.
Yeah.
From us making noise. It's
I left
terrific
the movie
filmmaking.
theater. I left Keith Albee Theater on 4th Avenue in Huntington, West Virginia after watching that premiere opening weekend. And I was walking down the sidewalk going, do, like jumping from behind cars and hiding behind posts and stuff, making my way back to Marshall University. Man, it really got me
Guys,
like an
when that
assignment.
when that first movie came out, I had the soundtrack that had the Dust Brothers Mission Impossible theme on it, and of course, this is still back in the day when your answering machine was on a tape, And of
Mhm.
course, as what was 1997 or no, it's even earlier than
96.
that. 96. So I'm like, 13 or something like that. So I've got like the soundtrack, and I'm doing a your mission to leave a message, blah blah blah, and then like just to time it right to when the last final note hits before the beep. Beep, like oh my god, what a fun time that was. But like that's what we even did. And when Mission Impossible 2 came out, I was like just in like high school or whatever, maybe just out of high school. We took a buddy's like little mini cam and like shot our own little stupid Mission Impossible. We had fun. Like the movie just was like, it's always been just a boatload of fun, these movies.
So Mission Impossible 2 for me like just broke my back because I loved the first Mission Impossible so very much, and the second one is just straight like MTV music video garbage. I hated it so much. And then and so oh well, I guess that I'm not going to be watching these movies anymore. And then you start hearing those rumors like, hey, they're going to make a Mission Impossible 3, and I was like, so? And they're like, hey, Brad Bird's going to be the director.
No.
I'm sorry,
That's
J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams is going to be the director. And at that time, pre Star Wars, J.J. Abrams, it was like, you don't say.
Man, he makes
J.J. Abrams.
He makes the best looking TV movies I've ever seen.
And then you learn who the bad guy is. And now I'm all in. and like from there on, basically from 3 on, I have loved this franchise from one. But I had to take a break with Mission Impossible.
It is what it is.
The second one was so awful. And then from that point forward, I was all in again. Like from the J.J. Abrams one until me watching this movie today, I don't think I realized how big a Mission Impossible fan I was until I watched the movie today. And when people start showing up, like you're like, oh right, there is actually a whole lot of people who have been in Mission Impossible, and they're showing up.
This does have a cast I love when we get to talking about this movie.
Yeah.
But withholding my judgment on this movie, when you talk about the first 6, still to this day, it's number 4 is the one that I think shows you what Mission Impossible can do and do best.
I agree, and because 4 is the one where none of the tech works, and so it's just about the people. It's not about the tech.
Just get by in the skill and the skin of your teeth.
Yes, and being clever. And that is one of the things about because this is when people say summer popcorn movies, this is the kind of movie I think of when I think of summer popcorn movie. This is because this is not something that insults your intelligence. They may have a dumb thing from time to time, but there's also so much cleverness into the writing and the performances and the camera work. There's a lot of really good people on this show.
Well, if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this 7th. That's right, 7th Mission Impossible movie, because this sucker's got everything. We open with Tom Cruise. Nope, this film is so secure in what they're doing, they open with a submarine. We've got a crazy tech crap nobody can understand. Davy Jones' locker. All your favorites are back. We got Benji. We got Fergie. Ving Rhames looks as tired as one man can be. We've also got Agent Carter, Mantis, Westley, Kittredge, Mycroft, Kirby. What's that? You need a cop or agent who always looks like he's on the brink of a meltdown? Let me introduce you to my friend Shea Wiggum, why don't you? We've also got Gabriel, who people asking, who is that guy? You know who that guy is. You've seen him on a million things. We got motorcycle riding, boat captaining, big cars, little cars, trains galore, handcuffs, a MacGuffin-a-thon, pickpocketing, riddles, technology gone wrong, running, skydiving, alley fights, sword fighting, Mysterio green spoke, magic keys, fun with masks, bridge on the river, quiet action, the entity, and more Brian De Palma love than we've seen on the big screen in a long time. This movie has everything, and it's only half a movie.
But I'm going to say it's a good kind of part 1. And I don't want to get too far to the end, but this one didn't leave me with the old proverbial blue goodies until the next movie comes out. I feel like it had a resolution.
Man, that is some original flavored Bruce right there.
Oh,
Good
my
job,
goodness.
That is great.
Oh.
Some blue goodies.
I had a minute to recover from that.
I die, if by some unfortunate event I were to die before the next movie comes out, I wouldn't feel like incomplete. Like right. I understand the story will continue, but also you could say it ends where it ends, and everybody lives happily ever after.
It didn't
Like,
feel
right.
as like
It definitely doesn't feel like the
Spider-Verse.
the horrible case of broken promises that people are reporting from Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Yeah, this one at least felt, and at the same time too, I think the majority of the second half of this is shot, if not everything. I think
It's not the majority, but a good bit of it has been shot. Yes.
But so fingers crossed that something, but like that feels like that's much more apt to come out faster, I guess, than Spider-Verse. That's a guess. And again, right now we are at a very weird time and don't know anything, so this is all conjecture.
Can we,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bruce.
I think your point's probably better than mine. Go ahead.
Well, my point is that if you want to get me interested in your movie right out of the gate, start off in a Russian submarine.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I've been as I've said for years, I've been such a sucker for a heist movie, and I still am to this day. But you know what else I really love is a submarine movie. Hot damn, do I love submarine movies?
Man,
Although
remember those fourth grade sleepovers when you'd insist on watching Das Boot and everybody would go home?
well, not fourth grade, but like by the time I'm like 13, 14, I've definitely
for me
seen
that
Das
was fourth
Boot.
grade, unfortunately.
I have seen Das Boot several times. I love that movie.
Mine was more of a down
I've even
Periscope.
seen really bad ones like K-19, The Widowmaker.
That you're going to
and-
say Periscope's up or whatever. That
Yeah,
down
Periscope down. No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about bad movies, not good ones like Periscope
Kelsey
down.
Grammer's best movie. And then McHale's Navy that had Bruce Campbell.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah,
it had
yeah,
submarine,
but not
so
on a
change the
submarine.
subject. That's a boat.
That's a boat.
A boat's just a submarine that can't swim underwater.
It's one of those that just can't go underwater. That's nice.
Put that on the poster. It's going right on the poster.
But before we go too deep into this, can I just go ahead and get I love this cast out of my system? So every time
Yes.
a character pops up, I'm not saying it, but I just want to run down some names on this cast list that I was blown away. Everybody popping on the screen, even that guys are awesome. That guys,
I barely
I
knew
mean-
anybody was in this too, by the way. Like, I really did not watch any trailers. I tried to ignore as much as humanly possible on this. Not that the trailer, because I did watch it eventually, and but it's nothing gives away really, which they've been nice about, and that's good. But I didn't want to risk that, so I didn't even know Kamala. I can't pronounce her last name. Clementif. I didn't even know she was in this. I don't think.
I know. I love Palm Clementif. She, of course, we know her as Mantis, but I've also seen her in some other cool things that she's been in. Haley Atwell. I've been a big fan of Agent Carter. I got her autograph at a convention. She signed it to my daughter, so that's always like a nice memory. So I'm cheering for her, and I'm really hoping this opens up like maybe a big second act to her career.
Also, can I say
feel like
something?
she's had a good career, but I want to have a big, make some nice cash at the end of it too.
Yeah. Between her and you'll get to this name soon, or right soon, I would imagine, with Rebecca Ferguson, how nice is it to have age appropriate women in these programs?
I do hate
she's
that
like 37.
Rebecca
Haley
Ferguson
Atwell's
died,
like
though.
41. So like they're not like 26-year-old
within 20
girls.
Years, they're within 25 years of his age, like a healthy relationship.
Well, it's
Anyway.
some of us know about that.
I'm joking. But anyway, Rebecca Ferguson, wonderful. Simon Pegg. I think we talked so much about him on the Patreon versions of this that we did, but he's just one of those actors I can't imagine anybody disliking Simon Pegg. Vanessa
I'm
Kirby-
sure they're out there, but I don't know them, and I don't want to know them.
and Vanessa Kirby, she's the connection with Fast and the Furious. She kind of was in one of those movies before she was in one of these movies, and she's really good in action movies, and she's got that European sexy without trying to be sexy kind of businesswoman look. She's got that down. Gabriel, the bad guy, is Cy Morales. I know him as Deathstroke from Titans, which is maybe not where he would be the proudest for me to know him from, because he's been in good things.
Yeah,
And,
he's in Top Gun Maverick.
I don't know if it was on the show or before the show when we were talking about Shea Wiggum, but that guy is, to me, he's always a breath of fresh air as a cranky cop.
Man,
And
he's great.
he really is great at he's like great at being the Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive, but the show's not about him, so they cast a smaller guy.
Yeah.
So they're getting Shea Wiggum here, but he really had a moment there where he was doing a great Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive, I thought. Henry Czerny. I'm sorry,
Man.
go ahead.
I was going to say that the other thing with Shea Wiggum too is that you know what? Let's start giving him those Tommy Lee Jones roles.
Yes.
Because Tommy Lee Jones clearly does not want to be in your movie
Nope.
anymore.
I mean, the dude's 85 or something. Give him a break.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
Shea
he
Wiggum
looks
come
like
around.
he's 85, but he's not actually that old, right? Because he went to school with Al Gore. Him and Al Gore were like went to Harvard or Yale, wherever they went,
Yeah.
and at the same time. And so, you know, how old is Al Gore? 70. So
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones just looks like he's 85 years old.
In my defense, when he made The Fugitive, I would have sworn he was 65.
Yeah, it's true, and he was probably 20.
32. Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones, 77 years old.
Oh wow. Oh
Now-
wow.
1946. So he's of course he's looked like he's 50, for the past 40 years. So
Henry Czerny, the CIA director,
So great.
first time
Kittredge.
back since 96, since the
Kittredge.
original movie, man.
And
This
he's
is just-
still, like I know that in the first Mission Impossible movie, he seemed a little young in the role he was in, like just a touch too young. But now, Henry Czerny, when he shows up, it's like that guy brings a gravitas, and I only know him from Mission Impossible movies and that one Harrison Ford movie where he's playing the guy that Alec Baldwin played once.
Yeah, it's the oh man,
It's either Patriot Games or the other one.
exactly.
clear and present danger
Well,
is the answer.
Yeah, clear and present danger. It's definitely not The Hunt for Red October because that has a submarine, so we wouldn't forget that one.
I wouldn't forget that one. That one's great.
What about Carrie Elwes?
He's great. Yeah,
I did know he was going to be in this, and then when he shows up, I like rub my glasses, make sure they're clean. Then I read the credits to make sure that's really who it is. And yeah, man, Dread Pirate Roberts.
I think
And
he's
then I
fine.
think
It's
Rob
like he's only in
Delaney's
it
the
for like
last
5
one.
seconds. It feels like so. Like I wish his character had a little bit more to do. I guess.
And
Yeah.
Rob Delaney showed up on screen. I always chuckle when Rob Delaney.
that was fun. Also, seeing the lady Imperial from Obi-Wan on the show, that was weird to see her in this movie.
Is that Indira Varma?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw the name, but didn't know who she was until you called it out. Now that makes sense. All right, there. I got my giddiness out. So now we can talk about any other nuts and bolts you guys got.
Well, I want to go back to Henry Czerny.
Yes.
Right. So, Henry Czerny seemed to be the go-to guy for your intrigue movie in the 90s because there's something about him back in the 90s where you just wanted to punch him in the face. Like he just had that look to him.
Yeah.
And he played sniveling really, really well. And so like it's surprising when you learn that he's basically been working the entire time. We just don't know any of the things he's worked on. Right. Like I know that he was on he was on a CBS Quantico. He was on Quantico for like a bunch of episodes. And the only reason why I know that was because I was visiting Lindsay's parents. We were visiting Lindsay's parents and they had that on. And I was like,
thank
Henry
heavens.
Czerny's
For a
still
second,
working.
I was starting to think we were visiting Lindsay's parents in Quantico. I was just like, her parents are in Quantico? I was like, okay. The sentence took it a whole nother
High
direction,
level.
so that's good.
He had a nice little run of some scary movies, it looks like, too.
Yeah, he was just
The
recently in
Exorcism
like
of
your
Emily Rose, Ready or Not, and Scream 6.
Oh, dang, he's in Ready or Not?
yeah.
Yeah, and Scream 6 is a top 10 Scream movie.
If you need somebody that's a little bit kind of upper crusty and stuff, of course you're going to put him in Ready or Not. We're just like we're all like, It's got that vibe going on, so you know he would fit in well there. But he was great to go back and like when you see that scene between him and Tom in there, this is where we first start to see. And I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but this movie is a Brian De Palma love letter in so many ways. Not just the fact that we've got this guy from the first movie. That in and of itself is, something. But
yeah, that scene with him and Cruise going back and forth in this movie almost looks shot for shot the same way in the restaurant.
those
in the first
frames
movie.
are really good. And in a couple of shots, not only in just that scene, but in several scenes, there are shots where we'll be, kind of a medium close up. And then the camera will shift, we'll call it 30, 40 degrees or something, just off to the side. almost the same sort of framing, but then just start it up again. These kind of weird and odd cuts like that are so Brian De Palma. These fingerprints were just all over this. And of course, the movie ends practically the same way the first one does, but in a different kind of way. It seemed like just so much Brian De Palma love in this movie. It made me happy. That's because I really liked that first movie a whole bunch. It was one that I watched on VHS a gajillion times. So, yeah, I love seeing that in this one. And I love McHugh saying, I want to make every one of these movies, and even not outside of his Mission Impossible movies, he has put down and saying, I don't want my movies to look the same. I don't want them to feel the same. I want everything to kind of have a different feel and vibe to it and stuff. And whatever is appropriate to what we're doing, that's what I'm going to do. And I think that that's serving him really well in being the first director to come back to multiple Mission Impossible movies.
And that's probably a big part of why he got to come back.
What's the project that put him in jail, in creator jail for a while? Because I know that when
I'm sorry, which that put De Palma in creator
no
jail?
McQuarrie.
Oh, okay.
Because McQuarrie, right? He's like out of the gate, just like an insanely good writer. You know, one of his he came out of NYPD Blue, and then from there he had the Usual Suspects script, and so from Usual Suspects on, like he's out the gate after that, right?
Actually, I don't think so, man. I think it's about how our memory and the time when we were living. He actually was way hotter 10 years after The Usual Suspects. I want to read you his films that he's written, directed, or produced, or all three. So Public Access 93, first movie. The Usual Suspects 95, nothing till 2000. The Way of the Gun in 2000,
which he wrote and directed.
Yeah, which I'd say cult favorite at best, not a mass hit.
No.
Then nothing for 8 years. Then Valkyrie. Then The Tourist. Then Jack Reacher. Then Jack the Giant Slayer. Then Edge of Tomorrow. Then Mission Impossible. Then Jack Reacher. And then
so that goes right. That's when he starts getting into the cruise camp. But
he's gone nonstop from 2008, basically.
But that's what I mean. From 2000 to 2008, there. So what happened there?
I think it's The Way of the Gun. Have you seen that?
I have.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's also not just not good. I think some people were probably even offended by it.
Well, when the most famous scene in your movie is when one of your main characters calls a lady the C word and punches her in the face, you're not going to have a ton of fans.
That, I think, is where the jail came from, because it's after that when he has an 8-year dry spell.
I think he was probably looking for something, and then you got to remember at this point as well, Tom Cruise hasn't quite made his comeback just yet. We are on the cusp of that at this point when we're in that little lull right there. And ultimately that comes down to the fact that we know a lot about Tom Cruise's life. And all of a sudden, when we start knowing more about Tom Cruise's personal life, our interest in Tom Cruise stuff goes really down. When we stop hearing about Tom Cruise's personal life and stuff like that, guess what? We all like him again. So, Hollywood could learn from this, because once Tom Cruise stopped talking about himself and his religious thoughts or his family things and just focused on movies and stuff, people started liking him again, and he's the king of the box office.
I think in our lives, we may have seen the two greatest Hollywood comebacks with RDJ and Tom Cruise.
I mean, Tom Cruise never left, though. I mean, outside, I'm like, there's a small lull, but I don't even...
You know what I mean? He still had a comeback in a major way. You know, he lost everybody's heart, and then he won it right back. And he won it right back with Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. We all kind of...
And I'm going to say at this point, if I had to pick, and who better to pick than me? I mean, can you think of anyone who's more qualified?
No.
I would say when you're talking about a movie star, Tom Cruise will probably die being called the greatest movie star ever.
Well, he's definitely the last movie star, right? I mean, he's the very last movie star.
Certainly that kind of generation and stuff, and of a guy who just who really does it all. And that's the big thing.
I think he brings something that the Cary Grants and the John Waynes just don't bring.
Well, the quality of picture, because he really does care about the movie itself.
The
you know,
dude is super ridiculously talented, but he's that kind of so ridiculously talented that I'm sure he's completely mentally insane. So he has to find people to tell him what to do so that he doesn't blow up in his own face. And unfortunately, the people who are doing that for him aren't popular.
He
But
did that
at least they're doing a
giant.
good job of it because we're allowed to love him again.
He did that motorcycle jump 6 times in one day. 6
Yeah.
times. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, like like you have to have a little bit of a screw loose to just kind of continue on this road every single time. But son of a gun, if
It's
it don't put out
nuts.
something that is a pretty quality product at the end.
I mean, I don't know why I'm watching this, and I'm thinking like he's not even wearing a helmet, but he's got the eye protection. Like that's what was all confusing to me for some reason. Like as an ophthalmologist, I appreciate the eye protection, but when you're jumping off of a cliff, the goggles they do nothing. Like you need the helmet.
Well, I think that's
he,
to keep
he
the.
didn't want to get bugs in his eyes.
Yeah, air and bugs out of your eyes so you can
Maybe he's
see what
worried
you're
that his
doing.
Earplugs might have stuck to the inside of the helmet.
By the way, that is one of the lowlights of this, and of many a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible film. His hair sucks in this. I don't know what they were doing with his hair, but it is no good in this film.
They tried spraying it on instead of taping it on.
I don't know what it is. It looks bad. The brown color is
Am I
bad.
the first guy to just come hardcore at Tom Cruise about hair loss that probably isn't even happening? Like, where did that come from, guys? Why am I suddenly deciding I'm going to hammer Tom Cruise about hair loss?
We just want that career. We just want to be like that guy who
Yeah.
could do 6
Of
jumps
all the
in one
things,
day
like,
and then go, it's
If
no
I
big
want
deal.
to hammer the guy, there are legitimate things to do it with. His hair actually way better than mine, even if he is losing some hair. Like that's the only difference between me and him is the hairline, right?
But yeah, just about. That's the only a couple of things, but that's
I do love it. This guy is not afraid of a close up, man. I was getting those 6K big screen close ups of his face, and it made me feel good because I know, without a doubt, Tom Cruise has the best skincare regimen of any living man, right? Like there's nobody better.
yeah. When you're how old do we say he was? 61?
85 or something.
Yeah, he's an older guy at this point, and so the fact that
But you still see a little bit of those imperfections in his skin, and I'm like, man, it's just that it makes you love him more. Like it makes you.
that's
believe
how
he
you
really
do it
looks
though.
like that.
You have to leave a couple of the little things there so people don't think that you're getting work done.
And Sean, I mean, you totally get the difference in Tom Cruise's incredibly handsome face and Rob Lowe's incredibly handsome face, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, the Rob Lowe is you don't need to know anything other than see his picture to know there's a lot of work going on there.
Oh
Tom
yeah,
Cruise- Tom Cruise, you don't know the work's been going on. Do you find out how old he is?
Well, also there's the weird thing with Cruise also where he, because I know that they used to sweeten his face. I think that they stopped doing that, which is great. They should stop doing it. But I think that now when he's out in public, he has a tendency to be like, oh, I'm going to be out in public, so I should get fillers injected into my face so that people don't know I'm old.
Yeah.
And
I
so
don't like
every
that.
so often you see him out and about. Like he was at a baseball game with his kid a while back, and it was like, holy hell, man. I barely know what fillers are, and I know that's what you're having done to your
Yeah,
face.
did he look like he kind of got like stung by a bee or something like that?
It did, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like I
because
remember seeing that.
Yes. Yes.
I got a friend who's a facial plastic surgeon. He says I need a lot of things, but I don't need fillers. So I got that going for me. He says my face is full enough as it is.
You need some things. Filler ain't
He
one
said-
of them.
He said you need to go the other direction. You need lessener, not filler.
61 years old the man is.
Good gravy. If only we could all look and be as healthy at 61 as Tom Cruise. But
No kidding, man. He really does look amazing. And moves amazing. He does not move like an old man.
no, he
That's
is.
the amazing part.
he's
That's where
just-
you know there's something going to keep those joints lubricated.
I just think that like every time you see him like just do one of these stunts or goes over like any of the car things, you buy every single second of it because again, this dude has like committed himself to doing this stuff so much to where it just flows out of him as if he was indeed Ethan Hunt. And I think at this point he might actually be Ethan Hunt.
I just picture him like buying black market knee meniscuses from like Asia
Yeah.
and getting surgically implanted so he can run.
That's literally the first thing I thought of when when you see the trailer with him jumping off of the motorcycle. I was like, man, my knees are killing me seeing this, and I'm not doing it.
Now, do you guys know much about the production of this movie and how kind of McHugh starts to make even these Mission Impossible movies?
I am not familiar at all. The only thing I know is in pre-production, I heard the next one, Tom Cruise was actually going to go to space, and I was disappointed he didn't.
No, thank God. They don't have as much of the script as you might imagine when they go into things. When they planned that jump, they knew the jump was going to go onto a train, but they didn't know what was going to be on the train. They didn't know how to get it. Like, they have so many things that they put together that eventually they just kind of cobble together a story at the last second. When you listen to those,
and the script doesn't feel at all like that.
no, it's like, but here's the thing. Some of it was most definitely written. There were obviously the big, portions and stuff like that. But I don't even think they really even quite knew that AI was like the villain, so to speak. They only came up with that later on, where it was like, because it was going to be a guy, then some sort of specter type creature, almost like a guy in like dark sunglasses and a hood and stuff like that. They decided, and they said you can see him in one shot in the movie, but it's not in there anymore. So they abandoned that thing altogether, and then came up with the AI voice and stuff. So a lot of these Mission Impossible movies that McQuarrie does are just kind of, it sounds bad, but they're slapdash in a lot of weird ways. We're like, how are we going to put this together? And then in all of them, he nails the landing, and you go, how in the hell did you do that? And he keeps doing it though, so it works.
Yeah, I like what he's doing. I don't know how he does it, but I want him to kind of keep it up.
Man, we got to work on. We really got to work on transitioning so that somebody else so we can you don't just end on a point where there's then dead silence. Like we should be able to throw it to somebody after 8 years. But here we go.
All right, so I got to say one more thing real quick though.
Okay.
Palm Clementif's jacket, I'm pretty sure, was from the music video for Black Parade from My Chemical Romance.
I don't know that it's specifically from that. I thought it was just a marching band thing, but I thought it was a great clothes choice.
It was a nice comic book tie because she looked just like Gerard Way, the creator of Umbrella Academy.
Oh, there you
Take it away, Sean.
Hey, thanks, Bruce. The one of the amazing things about this movie, and I was just so nicely surprised by this, is that there's all of the crossings that happen in this movie where they're looking for Tom Cruise in the airport, and and you see Shea Wiggum or whatever his name is looking around with his crew, and Tom Cruise is running across on the rooftop past them.
Yes.
And the camera angle is with Shea Wiggum's crew, and you just see him just barely in the background running through. And that happens a lot in this movie, where you're seeing plot lines cross over each other with different people, and that happens quite a bit in this movie, to the point where I was like, well, that had to be one of the most well-timed shots I've seen in a summer blockbuster in years. I can't think of another moment here, but you have all of these really great, the camera turns, and then, this person was here that you didn't know was here.
Yeah, they have some wonderful camera movement and nice reveals like that.
Yeah. And I think that whoever do either of you guys know who was the cinematographer on this? I've got to look it up.
It was a guy named Fraser Taggart.
Fraser Taggart.
That is a name.
It sure is.
Not my personal favorite cinematographer is Dick Pope, but it's Fraser Taggart.
Where did he come from? Let's take a look.
Doctor Strange, Edge of Tomorrow, Rogue One.
Oh wow! So he's done everything. Then.
He got a good rep.
And earlier, Bruce, you were talking about how everybody's like when you came out of the first Mission Impossible movie, you're humming the theme. It's impossible not to have that theme stuck in your head after watching a Mission Impossible movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's impossible. And Lalo Schifrin was the composer of that. He was
the original, for the TV show.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He's because the one from the first movie are the other guys from U2 that you don't know their names. but but like what a banger that guy wrote basically 60 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's just like in all the different iterations and stuff. Like even a crummy band like Limp Bizkit can make it kind of cool.
Not really. They even did the right thing. I will say that is the one smart move they made with Mission Impossible 2 is that they save the lyrics that Fred Durst made for their version of the song and the end credits of the movie.
Very smart.
That was a very smart move.
You had to be
walk out at that point.
And I was this person. You had to be very careful at the time because there were two soundtracks. There was the instrumental soundtrack, and then there was the soundtrack of Inspired By.
Ooh,
So it had that Limp Bizkit song. It had the Dust Brothers or whatever remix thing that they had for the new Mission Impossible. One or other things in there, but then it was a whole bunch of crap of like, these are just some alternative bands from 2001.
Wow,
not good.
I love those soundtracks. The first Inspired By soundtrack that I ran across was the Dick Tracy one.
Is it mostly Madonna songs?
Yeah, it's all Madonna songs.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, because she for like 45 minutes she dated Warren Beatty.
Right.
Gotta get that contract.
Now
quote unquote.
Back to the story. I want to talk a little story element here.
Yeah,
because,
please.
It is all chasing MacGuffins, and the MacGuffin they're chasing is that standard MacGuffin that who cares what it does? It does something that's so powerful that nobody should have it. It's not like we don't want it to get into the wrong hands. We want it to get into nobody's hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's a super MacGuffin trope. But the thing that I'm looking at, we've got this really, really charismatic villain, a mysterious guy known only as Gabriel. I think that's the Esai Morales character.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this actor. I like what he's doing with this character. And I start to get a feeling because there's a person that says, like, without me, you won't know where the key is. You won't know where the lock is that the key fits. And he kills that guy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might end up finding out that Ethan is going to find out that Gabriel might be the good guy in this situation. Like, they might end up working together to destroy the key in part 2. So that's like a little crackpot theory I've got going on here. Did you guys feel like that at all? Like maybe it'd be the old wrestling heel to face turn in the second movie with this Gabriel guy.
I mean,
cool guy.
Not
about they're definitely gonna. I think they're definitely gonna work together, but it's gonna be something where like, geez, I hate you so much because keep in mind that the Gabriel character is the one that killed the lady that Tom Cruise got that death pinned on.
He got to jack him up.
That's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's hated him for 40 years at this point, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm looking through Esai Morales's his filmography here. And I got to tell you, for as many things as he's worked on, and my God, he's worked on a ton of stuff. There's nothing here that stands out to me as something where I'm like, oh, that's where I know him from. I mean, clearly, I recognize the man, but there's like, how, I don't watch Chicago PD. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I know what you mean. I don't.
But yeah, over the last 20 years, he's just been one of those guys that will show up and do a cameo spot here or there on any kind of television show. He's got a great look to him. Like he's even getting better looking as he gets older, obviously, and stuff. So it totally works for him. So it's one of those guys. Again, when you see him on screen, you're just like, that guy's in charge. That guy's got that gravitas that you need.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I always assumed he was like a New Zealander, but he's from Brooklyn.
Huh.
Like I don't know. Like just when I saw him as Deathstroke, I think for some reason, because the Deathstroke from the Manu Bennett, the one from the old Arrowverse, was from New Zealand. So I just started assuming that anybody was Deathstroke other than Joe Manganiello was from New Zealand.
It all adds
man,
up.
that I that's where I know him from. He played young Adama on the Caprica series that they made after the Battlestar Galactica series.
I
remember that show not being great, but he was great as Adama.
I could see him as a young James Earl Jones. That's good. I like that. Yeah.
But I mean, what a bump up in the looks department. I mean, Jesus.
I was going to say, if I'm casting a younger version of me, I wouldn't mind. I'd say, yeah. Let's say young Bruce is played by Esai Morales.
I don't
care if he's 4 years older than I am. I want him to be the young me. Oh
the-
man, he's 10 years older than me, but he can still pull it off.
And the final episode of the series and everything, they just stick his head in a vat of frying oil, and they're just like, all right, there you go, we're off. And
Yeah, he
now
has
you
like a
just-
Joker origin.
There you go, he's good. Put him on the show now. Let's talk about a couple of like the stunt stuff. The train was crazy.
Yeah.
And do you guys realize that when those two were on top of that train and all this stuff, they shot that? That's all real.
I just can't even imagine having like the kind of production pull you got to have to go to actual European railroads and like shut them off and be able to use them as your playground.
It's
like
bigger
this.
than that. They could not. No one would sell them a train that they could then destroy. It's just too much money, so they had to make their own. So that train was all made by them.
That made sense because as I was watching this, I was like, wow, how did they find a steam engine? Like, this is supposed to be modern day Europe, and they're like, they got a coal powered steam engine. Where did they find one of those that's still in service? Well, now I know they didn't. They built
just
their own. It's
they
probably
just
cheaper to build
made
one
it.
of those than a diesel. Yeah.
The funny part is though, is that especially here's my biggest like little plot hole, and listen, you got to have fun with it, so you have to have him do the jump on the ramp. But the Paris character jumps down off of like a bridge, just a bridge overpass, and then gets onto the top of the train. I'm like, Tom, you could have done that. Got on that bridge and just jumped onto it.
Great if they decided to jump on it at the same curve, and then they had to like fight to see who got to jump on it, but that didn't happen.
I don't know. It just seemed like I'm like, well, she got on it. It seemed pretty easy for her. Why you got to go through this whole rigmarole? It's because we need a cool stunt, but
And I'm not positive, but I think they shot a lot of the train stuff in Norway, because I know they shot some of this film in Norway, and it almost looks like those cliffs are the kind that are cut by the water up there in Scandinavia more than what you'd see in the actual Italian Alps.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm no expert. I'm not trying to pull a no leopards live in India here, but it does look like that might have been in Norway, because some of those cliffs were just absolutely beautiful and gorgeous and amazing. The one he jumped off of in particular was just too good to be true.
The weird part about his jump and everything is the way that he's parachuting down. I don't think most of us realize how dangerous it is, what he's doing, and how he's actually parachuting down, because technically it's not considered parachuting per se. I forget what it's called, but it's something that's
he's base jumping.
It's something else that was like almost it was like another set off of even that. I don't know. Gosh, man. I forget what it was called, but it's just all that little twirling.
Looking, but I avoid most extreme sports.
That twirling that he's doing as he's going down. When you see, it feels like the movie almost doesn't give it enough, danger element to me, because when I looked at some of the behind the scenes stuff, oh my gosh, it's so dangerous what he's doing.
And it's not just what he's doing, but he's delivering lines on the way down.
That obviously it was not location sound or anything, but that was one of the coolest things I ever saw.
Was while that air flap on
exactly while he's going down and screaming a line. I was like, dude, nobody's ever done that right like that before. You kind of see them far away and you hear a little some little line like that, but it looks like he's doing it. And again, this is Tom Cruise just going, I need to make sure that we step this thing up yet another time. And that's why all of these movies are good. It's because it's the consistent strive to do better than the last time.
Yes. And all of the choices that are made are made for the betterment of the movie. Like there's no like, God love him, but Sylvester Stallone isn't showing up for Expendables 4 because he just really loves working on Expendables movies. you know what I mean?
It's a nice paycheck.
It's the big difference between Tom Cruise and just about every other movie star is that he cares so deeply about the project itself. And so when you do that, you do things like, you know what, we're going to spend a little bit extra money. We are going to do this on location. We are not going to shoot this on a stage. This is going to be shot for real out in the hinterland.
Yes, I'm going to yell at some of you if you don't follow the COVID stuff, because we're trying to get this bloody movie finished and some of y'all are monkeying around. So you get that impassioned thing from Tom Cruise. He just goes, listen, we got a lot of stuff on the line here. And again, as a producer from this, it's all on his head as well.
And not only that, but when it comes to, and here's the thing, is that, and it's the part no one remembers about this, is that Tom Cruise was absolutely correct to yell at the crew about that.
Yeah.
Because he could have been shut down instantly. That entire production could have been shut down. Because if you're not not following COVID guidelines, and COVID shows up, like, you're in trouble.
And they were in the UK too, where they could actually like enforce the rules without 50 different interpretations on it.
Right.
So, like, in the UK, if they want to shut you down, they shut you down.
It also doesn't hurt that David Ellison is the money guy on the show. And David Ellison, if you've got him in your pocket, like, you're going to be just fine. Like, and I'm pretty sure when Tom Cruise calls David Ellison, it says, "Hey, we need 50 million more bucks for this movie." David Ellison's like, "You got it, Tom."
He looks down at his phone just to make sure that the caller ID says Tom Cruise on it, and then he puts it back to his ear and just goes, "You got it."
Yep.
Who am I talking to again? Oh, that's right. Mr. Tom Cruise. Again, when the train finally has the bridge over on the River Kwai moment where it falls off and everything, this is
beautiful.
This is really another great part about this whole thing, is that even though we know this is Dead Reckoning Part 1, man, I still am on the edge of my seat the entire time with all of these, crazy stunts and things that are going on. They do such a great job of just building up that tension. And even though they're going to make it through this film, you still are scared. It's really great filmmaking when you can still make us scared when we know that there's more around the corner and that these characters are assuredly not going to die, except for maybe one.
That's just the thing, is that that Tom Cruise is going to make it through. You're not sure about the rest of MIF.
That's true.
And so when his cast of other actors just start showing up in this movie, it's like, man, I sure hope nothing happens to Rebecca Ferguson. You know what I mean? Like, you have those moments like, oh, right.
Oh, man.
This
train bridge. I started reading about this train bridge. Have you guys heard the story about the bridge they blew up?
Mm-mm.
Man, so it was a bridge that was built in 1912 by Wilhelm II, who was the emperor at the time. It managed to survive World War II intact, which is like one of the few German train bridges that wasn't blown up in World War II. It was still used actively until 2016 when it was decommissioned. And it's in Poland, and it has a lot of local historical value. In fact, they described it as extremely valuable. And Macquarie and Cruise went in there and blew it up for a movie. So that led to some pretty big protests, I guess, from railroad enthusiasts.
I bet those people just want to be paid. Sounds like those people are they just sound like they want a little bit of scratch because, hey, we used to love that thing. Give us some money, why don't you? I'm like, you didn't use that thing in the last 10 years.
I think they're just mad.
Yeah, well, they want money.
Poland's mad.
Stupid
Poland doesn't even use US dollars, I don't think.
You know what else I forget about these movies is that they are funny. There are funny, really funny moments.
There is a lot of laughs in this movie, and they've been doing that. I think especially since the McHugh ones, where they've been
since 3. I mean, since J.J. Abrams, it's been funny. Like they've had good moments.
I feel like they've dialed it up though in these last couple of ones, though, and especially, and when I say that, really, what I mean is, and you see it a lot in 4 as well. It's just at Tom Cruise's expense.
Yes.
Things go bad. And like when we finally, that was another thing that made us really, open up to Tom Cruise, is when we can see, him fail and stuff, and that we then want him to succeed despite those failures.
Yeah. At a time when a movie franchise has 3 leads that all cannot lose fights in their contract, and how do you write stories around that? We got a guy who's showing vulnerability and imperfection.
It's so nice. And again, speaking of vulnerability, I love that, throughout these movies and stuff, because Rebecca Ferguson's been with us a while, and they never made those two have a relationship in any way. It's always been just very, if anything, close to familial, maybe just like, hey, that's, my little sister in espionage, as it were. And it was always nice. I liked that we never went there with those characters, and it just felt like, a member of the team dying. And I just applaud a movie because I feel like in so many ways there would be pressure to have him have some sort of love interest in this. And even Haley Atwell is like, while she's a foil, she's not necessarily even a love interest in this. And that's all. I like all that. I like that we don't, because it doesn't need it. This movie doesn't need that.
No, and also there's something now that's very alien about Tom Cruise, so you don't want to see him making out with people.
Yeah,
there's also some. So I'm sure there will, if not already, there will soon be some spicy fan fiction with Gabriel and Ethan Hunt.
Oh, Lordy,
you got that to look forward to.
You say it. It's certainly.
And what website will you be writing that on?
Yeah,
all of them.
Who is the writer of the group? Let's think about that if we will. Any other kind
the
of
way your scruffy beard rubs my perfect
oh my
face.
word. All right, do we need to just go ahead and hit the big one? Maybe we do. All right, before we get to our final review of the first half of this Mission Impossible movie, we have to find out how it relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh,
I hope all your thetans are in check, Mr. Stallone, because this week's Stallone connection is none other than the world's last movie star, Tom Cruise. What's that you say? You don't remember ever working with Tom Cruise? Well, that's completely understandable, big dog. Back in September 2001, America was going through what experts now call a major bummer. It was called 9/11. And 10 days later, a telethon was staged. It aired simultaneously, commercial-free, on more than 30 networks. And it was called America, a tribute to heroes. It raised more than $200 million. And if you were famous in 2001, chances are you worked on this telethon. Who was part of this star-studded event? Probably a better question is, who wasn't? The Edge, Don Was, Jimmy Schmitz, Richie Sambora, the Dixie Chicks, Kelsey Grammer, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Fred Durst. All the big names.
Wow.
I like the idea that Kelsey Grammer and Fred Durst had to share a dressing room.
But they also had some up-and-comers, people like Will Smith, Mike Myers, Robert De Niro, George Clooney, Muhammad Ali, plus Tom Cruise and yourself. This project will go on to win 7 Emmys, which goes to show you that if there's one thing Hollywood loves to promote, it's how great Hollywood is. Now, I'm not going to badmouth a charity event. Charity by nature is a good thing, but I can't imagine there was a single living soul who watched this thing from the beginning to the end. I can't imagine that the same people who watched so they could see the Dixie Chicks performed also wanted to stick around to see what Dennis Franz had to say about 9/11. In an effort to remain completely truthful to both you, Mr. Stallone, and our listeners, I didn't watch a single second of this event. I had my own show that night, which was also a charity event, all the proceeds going to me. What I remember most from that night was how much people laughed. I wasn't particularly good or funny that Friday night. It wasn't even the best show I had that year, but people laughed a lot. And I'm hoping the same thing is true about this telethon. I'm sure that it's nearly unwatchable today, and the fact that I hadn't even heard of it until looking for this week's Stallone connection should be a hint that it was probably a hobo's trash can on fire. But you put in your time, Mr. Stallone, and that's the important bit. And so did the world's last movie star, Tom Cruise. Do I think he's weird in real life? Yes. Do I think he's probably the only reason why Scientology has gotten as far as it has in the last 3 decades? Yes. Do I think it's weird that there's a video I saw of him on the internet this week where he's sitting on a couch that's clearly not in his home, eating from a gigantic bucket of popcorn, where he's attempting to appear normal and he's saying things like, I like eating popcorn and watching movies? Yes. Yes, it's extremely weird. Where did he get such a large bucket of popcorn? They're not at a movie theater. Where was this video shot? Why does he have a ton of filler injected into his face? I'm getting off track. My point is, he's the world's last movie star because I'm going to see whatever movie he's in. I'm sure we spoke about it on the show, but he always gives every project his best. He's never half-assing anything. This week I saw in completely unrelated news a trailer for Expendables 4 in front of Mission Impossible this week. And it looks like the worst thing ever.
It does look
Oh.
so bad.
Oh,
And there you have it. This week's Stallone connection is Tom Cruise. I hope to hear from you soon. I'll be back here next week. Your pal, Sweet Shawnsy from the internet.
Holy smokes. Well, here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 fall on the Robin rating system for you?
I think this is the action movie version of a tone poem. Like they're
Okay.
chasing the MacGuffin, they're running, they're jumping, they're doing this, they're doing that. I got up to go to the bathroom like 4 times during the movie. Didn't miss a thing. You don't really need to know what they're saying.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, I just, I had a
You
lot
broke
of
the
fiber the
seal.
night before.
You broke
Yeah.
the seal.
Oh,
it happens.
Yeah, man, it's too much fiber in Doritos. But anyway,
Oh, Lordy.
it's a 3-star movie for using the star thing. Damian Wayne, it's like right down the middle. There's no way to dislike it. No way it's your favorite movie. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's a great fine version of what it's meant to be. Damian Wayne.
Interesting. Sean?
This is this is my favorite movie this year. This is the
No
best movie
way.
I've seen this year so far. I love this movie so very, very much. Across the Spider-Verse would have been my favorite movie of this year if it weren't for the fact that
Blue
they
Goodies?
ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
This does not end on a cliffhanger, and that is actually Tom Cruise's fault that it didn't, because he literally told everyone else, we are not ending this on a cliffhanger. I want it to be a satisfying ending. And boy, did that work out great.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
Yeah.
Seriously. So
It's
for
like
me,
you learned a thing or two making like all that money over the years.
yeah, no, who would have guessed?
A couple of times at bat and you'll eventually get it.
So for me, this is a high Tim Drake. I just adore this movie.
For me, I think I got to go low Dick Grayson. I really, really like this.
Nice.
I had a
Yeah.
whole bunch of fun with it.
I was too chicken to give it a Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Good for you, buddy.
It's 3 hours long, but it chugs so fast. I never looked at my watch. I never thought like, oh, it's never boring. It's constantly moving. It's constantly shaking, but it's not just constant action either. There's story that's going on. There's character development that's there. And again, when we have characters that can die and stuff, it brings, stakes to it. And I'm so glad that we have that. And it's fun
The
to see where
story
things are
is-
going to go.
The story's written in a way, and I'm using a little hyperbole here, but you can get as much or as little as you want out of it.
Mhm.
Like you can sit there and think, okay, so let's think a little bit about Zerny's character's lore. Let's think a little bit about these characters' lore. Or you can just say, oh man, that train looks like beautiful views, beautiful fixtures, and nice action.
Yeah, and there's enough stuff that's going on, and like you don't. I just, for me, it's what we go to the movies for, especially in today's world with the blockbuster stuff. It has that same thing, and Tom Cruise has just found a way to harness it and put it in a bottle and put it on screen for everybody. He's gotten that thing, especially when it comes to action adventure movies, that he's figured out what the public likes.
I'll tell you what.
This is what
it's
we
the-
like, and this is how we want to have it fed to us. And sure enough, every time that he's done it, it's been a banger.
This is the first movie this year that I've actually sat down in the front part of the theater. Where sometimes I do that when I want my whole field of vision to just be saturated, so
Yeah.
it's more immersive. So I knew what you know what you're going to get into, and it delivers.
It just plays on your face.
It's just
But
it's a lot
personally,
of fun.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as you, Sean, and no movies this year have necessarily knocked my socks off. But yeah, it's not my favorite of the year, but it's a solid movie.
Well, that is it, everybody. Another week down, another movie, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, out in theaters now. And Tom Cruise says, "Please go see it. Please go see it because they need that movie cost a lot of money to put together."
And not only that, but there's 2 monsters coming next week.
Yeah, so let's talk about that next week, everybody. We haven't discussed it ahead of time. You're hearing it live here on the show. Who wants to do Oppenheimer?
I can't. I'm
It's
not going to
gonna work for this show.
I'm not going to have time to go to the movie theater next week either.
That's
I'm going to be in Los Angeles next week.
Listen, you all right. All I hear is excuses, and that's fine. I'll still go see that one. We'll figure out what we're doing next week. I don't know. We'll go see Barbie. But I might do a double feature. Who knows? But I'll definitely be seeing
Oppenheimer and Barbie, the perfect double.
That's what people are saying that's what they're going to do. But I'm going to just do one. I can't do a double after a 3-hour movie, and then you're going to throw another. No, thank you. It's too much. I do already have my ticket.
I will say I saw a sneak like 20 minutes of Oppenheimer this week.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that really surprised me about that movie is at one point, Cillian Murphy takes off his glasses and he looks at the camera and he says, "Come on, Barbie, let's go party."
So we'll figure out what we're doing. That's why you need to get patreon.com/HMP. That way you can listen to the pre-show and after show and figure out how the sausage is made back here. Check it out, everybody. That is it. Join us next week when we're talking about who the heck knows what. For Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.